Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Shri Vallabhadhi Shikhi. Today we are reading for day number 23, Varta 9, the story of Beni Das and Madhu Das, two Kshatriya brothers from Kara. Bhav Prakash, inner meaning. In the eternal Leela, Beni Das is Sri Vrishabhanuji's bull that pulls his cart. Once he pierced Rishabh with his horns, which gave Rishabh severe pain for 3 days. That's how he ended up on the earthly plane. Madhav Das is Ratna Prabha, one of Sri Lalitaji's Sakhis. By the Lord's wish, they were born as brothers, but they had very different ideas. Madhav Das lived with a prostitute and all the Vaishnavas criticised him, but he was a Devi Jeev. In the Leela, his name is Chandralata, and she is one of Chandravaliji's Sakhis. There is always a spiritual relationship, because of which a deep love can develop between divine souls. Part 1. Sri Acharyaji once travelled to Kara. Many Vaishnavas came to have his sight. Madhav Das also heard that he had arrived and went there and bowed down low before him. The Vaishnavas all told him that Madhav Das kept a prostitute at home. Sri Acharyaji asked him why he did that. He replied that he liked her and was attached to her. Sri Acharyaji asked him the same question 3 times, and when he got the same answer back, he stopped asking. Bhav Prakash. The Vaishnavas had criticised Madhav Das' behaviour because they thought it would make him stop out of shame. They had no envy or hate for him because that would be a very negative feeling for them to foster. Then they told Sri Acharyaji so that he would tell him to stop, and this too was only for Madhav Das' welfare. In a worldly situation, he might have stopped just because of the criticism from the Vaishnavas, but Sri Acharyaji understood that this was all the Lord's pastimes. So he asked him, "Hey, Madhav Das, why do you keep a prostitute?" If he had told him to leave her immediately, then he would have done, if that had been an obstacle to his welfare. But instead he exclaimed, "Hey, Madhav Das, have you purified even this very fallen soul? She is wrapped up in worldly behaviour, and you still don't fear what anyone else has to say about this." Madhav Das replied that his mind had become very attached to her. Also, she had nowhere else to go, and so he kept her despite worldly admonishment and his shame before the Vaishnavas. He told the Lord, "Anyway, this was not all in my hands. You sit in my heart and control things from there. You control my actions." Sri Acharyaji asked him the same question 3 times, because where there is true love, the truth will reveal itself. And 3 times Madhav Das gave the same true answer. Sri Acharyaji was so pleased because it is rare to find such faithful and loyal Vaishnavas. Part 1 continued. The Vaishnavas again asked Sri Acharyaji why he did not just tell Madhav Das to throw her out. The Vaishnavas were concerned for Madhav Das' welfare and worried how he would be delivered if Sri Acharyaji did not order him directly. Sri Acharyaji then explained, "Don't worry, he is attached to her, but it won't take long for the Lord to return him around." Gadadhar Das had after all blessed him that he would develop strong love for the Lord, and that blessing to this very Madhav Das needs to be fulfilled. Bhav Prakash. Sri Acharyaji's teaching here was, don't worry about him. He is not about to fall down into worldly thought. He will liberate that prostitute along with many others. I gave him this firm faith through Gadadhar Das. I will not force him to leave her. Otherwise, how will Gadadhar Das's blessing continue to How will Gadadhar Dasji's blessing come to fruition? Gadadhar Das granted him pure devotion, and so it will be. Do not worry. Part 1 continued. All the Vaishnavas were happy to hear this and kept quiet. Madhav Das then changed his mind and sent the prostitute away. He began to behave like a Vaishnava and was a great devotee. When Madhav Das sent the prostitute away, he told her that she was a Sakhi of Sri Gosaiji and that when she met him everything would be accomplished, but that their relationship had to end. She then spent 15 years eating rotis with no ghee and drinking water. Then one day Sri Gosaiji came to Kara. When she heard this, she went to meet him and asked to be accepted as his disciple. Sri Gosaiji said he would not accept a prostitute as his disciple. She went home and lay there without food or water. Sri Gosaiji stayed in that town for 8 days. The prostitute would go and look at him from afar. Sri Gosaiji was about to leave on the 9th day, and she came there supported by 2 men holding her up. She addressed Sri Gosaiji, "Maharaj, today is the 9th day of my fast. I am willing to die if you do not accept me." Sri Gosaiji saw that she had now purified herself, and all her faults had flown away. He gave her the first initiation of Sri Krishna's name, and then she requested that she might also take the second Brahmasambandh initiation. She pleaded, Maharaj, Madhav Das told me that I am your servant. I have been eating dry food for 15 years just in the hope of staying alive, long enough to fulfill this desire. Just now I even gave up water for 9 days. Please tell me what to do now. I know I am very impure, but with the grace of Madhav Das's company I have got to have the sight of Sri Acharyaji, and now I have met you. Therefore, please initiate me and give me some seva. Only then will I stay alive. Seeing her pure heart, Sri Gosaiji accepted her through the Brahmasambandh initiation and gave her a deity of child Krishna to serve. He told the Vaishnavas to teach her the ways of seva so that she could start serving her Lalanji. While she was thus engaged, the prostitute came on her period, and the Vaishnavas told her that she could not do any seva or touch any water involved in the seva for 4 days. However, she had excessive love and carried on as normal. On the 5th day, she cleaned up everything and gave her Sri Thakurji a bath in the 5 nectars. The Vaishnavas stopped associating with her. After a few days, Sri Gosaiji came back there. They went and complained that they had told her not to make seva in the 4 days of her periods, but that she had not heeded them. Sri Gosaiji called her to him and said, Why do you touch the water during your periods? The prostitute replied, Maharaj, I have had as many worldly husbands as there are hair follicles on my body, but I have left all of that through your grace alone. Now that I have met my one true spiritual husband, how can I possibly spend 4 days without him? You know everything, and you know that I cannot tolerate a single second without him. On the 5th day I purify everything and bathe my Sri Thakurji in the 5 nectars. I keep this much of a rule. You know everyone's heart. So advise me, and I will do whatever you tell me. Seeing how happy her Sri Thakurji was with her, Sri Gosaiji told her to continue in the very same way, and so now to just go home and serve him. Hurry up, he said, your Sri Thakurji is waiting for you. She bowed to Sri Gosaiji and then went home. Afterwards, Sri Gosaiji told the Vaishnavas to leave her to serve in her own way and not to say anything to her. He told them not to spy on her and that Sri Thakurji was very happy with her service, but that they should not copy her. In fact, they needed to follow the rules. This way, the prostitute's love became very great through Madhav Das's grace. Part 2. Madhav Dasji lived with his brother Veni Dasji. One day, a very expensive pearl necklace became available to purchase. When he saw it, Madhav Das said to his brother, This necklace would suit Sri Navneet Priyaji so well. Shall we buy it? Veni Das avoided the issue by saying, What is so special about this necklace? Anyway, everything we have already belongs to the Lord. Bhav Prakash. People who are attracted to worldly gains say that everything is for Sri Thakurji, but they avoid spending their money on him. Part 2 continued. Madhav Das replied that if everything belongs to Sri Thakurji, then why not just get the necklace for him? Veni Das asked how they could possibly afford it. Madhav Das then told him that they would now divide up whatever they owned and that he would live by himself. Bhav Prakash. By saying this, Madhav Das implied, You are after all a bull. The burden you bear is the behaviour of a householder. Now I will live separately and follow my own ideas of how to please the Lord. Part 2 continued. They divided up their wealth. Madhav Das found that his part was not enough to buy the necklace. However, it was his heart's desire that that very necklace should one day adorn Sri Navneet Priyaji. He set out for the south to try to earn some money. Madhav Das had offered that necklace to the Lord mentally so that it would not fall to worldly use. It went on sale in Prayag, and the Vaishnavas there collected enough money for it and gave it to Sri Acharyaji, who then bought it and adorned Sri Navneet Priyaji with it. Meanwhile, Madhav Das earned a lot of money, and he found an even more beautiful necklace, bought it, and set off back home. On the way, he came to a large river. To cross it, Madhav Das sat in a boat with a lot of other people. When the boat was in the middle of the river, Sri Navneet Priyaji came there, carrying a red stick. Only Madhav Das could recognize him. The Lord asked him, Shall I sink the boat? Madhav Das replied, Nije chataha karishyati, usually taken to mean that the Lord acts according to his own personal wish. Thus, if that is your wish. Navneet Priyaji asked him where he had been, and he replied that he had gone to buy him a necklace. Navneet Priyaji said, I have so many necklaces. Look, I'm wearing that same necklace. Sri Acharyaji presented it to me, and I have many more. Madhav Das replied, You may have many necklaces, but that does not mean that a servant of yours should sit idle. They should make efforts to please you. The Lord allowed the boat to arrive safely on the other side. Bhav Prakash. The implication of Sri Thakurji's words on the boat were, I had to come all the way to South India with you, so why did you go there? Do I not have enough necklaces? If I had upset the boat, then what would you have done? Your heart's desire would not have been fulfilled, and Madhav Das had said, Nijachata Krishiti, implying that the Lord acts according to the desire of his intimate devotees who serve loyally, and that the Lord fulfills the desire of the devotees to please him. So he said, Sri Acharyaji had already offered you that necklace, and so if my body represented here by the boat were to perish, then I would have not one worry about that. You can overturn this boat whenever you wish. It was no exertion on my part to acquire you another necklace, so therefore it was not a question of my effort being fruitful. Otherwise, to live in a worldly home and then just die is useless. A servant's position is to find ways to please you. Sri Thakurji did not overturn the boat, and even if he had, Madhav Das would say that it was all his wish, and the Lord's wish needs to fulfill the wish of his devotee, for it was Madhav Das's desire for him to accept the necklace. Madhav Das didn't care if the boat be overturned or not, from his own point of view, but there were plenty of others sitting in the boat who needed his satsang, otherwise they might blame him for the whole incident. The words of accomplished devotees are full of deep meaning. Only the Lord or those he specifically blesses can understand it. The boat was shaking and all the passengers' mouths were dry with fear. The boatman said that its safety was not now, in his hands. Then Madhav Das became happy and the boat was saved. They all said, the boat only survived because he is sitting in it and he is a great soul. Otherwise we would all have drowned. Part 2 continued. They reached the far bank. It took Madhav Das a few days to reach Sri Acharyaji's camp. Sri Acharyaji asked him why the boat had not sunk. Madhav Das told him the whole story. Sri Acharyaji told all the Vaishnavas there, see, this is that same Madhav Das. He turned out to be a great devotee. From that time, this necklace is called Madhav Das's necklace. Bhav Prakash. In the Leela, Madhav Das's name is Ratna Prabha, the effulgence of the jewel. The story of his life brings that much light with it and is a shining example. Madhav Das was a great devotee, and this story shows the great effect a devotee's blessing can have. Thus concludes Varta 9, the story of Sri Acharyaji's disciple Madhav Das. There is truly no end to his story. Shri Vallabhadisha Ki Jai. Jai Shri Krishna. Tomorrow we continue with day 24, Varta 10. Jai Jai Shri Radhe.